Okay, today we're looking at volume of spheres. Remember, a sphere looks a lot like a ball, but not all balls, because remember that a football is not spherical. We're looking at a circle that's sort of being spun around, all the way around. In the volume of a sphere, the only thing we really need to know is the radius, because our formula says we're going to take 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. Since we don't have a height here to work with, and we're not doing a base times a height, we're just kind of spinning that around, we're actually taking the radius to the third power. All right, so if we're going to find the volume here, we're going to use that formula. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. We're going to substitute in our radius. It's going to be 4 to the third power times pi times 4/3. That's all going to equal our volume. So 4 to the third power is 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is going to be 64. Now, if we were solving this volume in terms of pi, then we would keep this pi out separate, and we would multiply then our 4/3 and our 64. So we'd want to do 4/3 times 64. So on our calculator, 4/3 times 64 is going to be 256 thirds. So we would have 256 thirds times pi. And then we're measuring in centimeters, so centimeters to the third power. That would be our in terms of pi. Now, if we wanted to solve it all the way out and get an approximate value here, then we're going to multiply that 256 thirds times pi. So we'll take our answer and multiply it by our pi. Remember, our pi button's over here. And if we are rounding to the nearest tenth, we would get 268.1. And we're still using centimeters to the third power. So that's our approximate value there. All right, so finding the value of this sphere here on the right, we use volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. Now, when I look over here, though, I don't have a radius. I have a line that goes all the way across my circle, and that is a diameter. But I know that a diameter is actually 2 radiuses. So what I need to do is I need to divide this by 2. 16 divided by 2, the diameter equals 16, then I need to do 16 divided by 2 to get my radius. So my radius is going to equal 8 feet. So in my formula then, volume equals 4/3 times pi times 8 to the third power. All right, so 8 to the third power is 8 times 8 times 8, which will be 512. So if I want to do this in terms of pi, remember I pull that pi out to the side. And I'm going to multiply that 4/3 times that 512. So 4/3 times 512 gives me 2,048 thirds. 2,048 thirds. And we're measuring in feet, so we'd have feet to the third power. That is always going to be in terms of pi. But if we want to solve it all the way out and get rid of that pi, then we have to multiply that 2,048 thirds times pi so that we can get our approximate value for our volume. So we're going to take that 2,048 thirds, that's our answer, and we're going to multiply that by pi. And we get 2,144.660585. And I want to round this to the nearest tenth, so I'd have 2,144.7. And I'm still measuring in feet, so feet to the third power. So that is how we find volume of spheres. Use your formula as you're working through your practice today. And then be very careful, because if the question asks you to keep it in terms of pi, you're looking for an answer like this. And if it's asking you to solve it all the way out and round, then you're looking for something like this.